All right, so let's kick this off with a video on the interface. And I got to kind of start it off with a personal story here, because I know the interface is not necessarily the sexiest thing about getting a new version of Photoshop. But for me personally, so here's what happened. I get access to these betas pretty early on, but I usually don't install them just because beta software and that whole thing. And I usually wait until the very last minute that I possibly can, to where I have to start training people, because I know people are going to upgrade very quickly. So we've got to have training ready. So here's what happened with CS4. I waited until the last minute and I installed it. And what I found is I usually bounce back and forth between the two versions at that point whenever this happens. And eventually I'll settle in on the new version. With CS4, I found that within a day, I already trashed my shortcuts to CS3, and I was always going into CS4. And I started to think about, I sat down and really started to figure out, okay, why is this happening? And it wasn't that I was using the new features constantly. It was the interface. The interface just felt that much better to me, both in Bridge and in Photoshop. Okay, it was good enough that I was like, I don't want to go back into CS3 anymore. So I want to share some of the things that kind of led to that here. The first one, it's such a silly thing, but it is a big thing. All right, so I'm going to turn on a type layer here, and I want you to look at the zoom percentage. I'm looking at it at 66.7%. See how everything is crisp? See how the edges around the type are crisp? Now I'm going to bounce over to CS3 really quick. And I'm looking at, let's go into 66.7%. Look at the edges. Look at the S. See how everything is kind of jagged? All right. If I go up to, let's say, 50%, everything looks good. But if I go to 33.3, it doesn't look good. All right. So it only works at these even numbers, like 100 or 50 or 25, these half increments of 100%. Anything else, and you get these jaggies around it, and not just text and graphics, but photos as well. And I got that question over and over again, so maybe it's just me as a trainer. I'm just happy that I don't get this question and have to tell people such a silly thing. You can't be at 33.3%. And why even have it if it's not going to look right? So anyway, so inside CS4, that is no longer broken, if you will, but it's been like that ever since Photoshop came out. It works just fine now. It works the way it should work. 66.7, 50%, everything looks good. Okay? Now another one is these tabbed windows. So check out what I can do here. I've got two windows open, and what happens often is that you've got one image covering another, and you've got to do this little dialogue shuffle to be able to get to see the other one and then bring that one forward. Or you had to go to the window menu and go down and choose the images. But now you've got the ability to do tabbed windows. So I've got two open here. If I want to put them together, just click on the title bar of the one and kind of bring it over the title bar of the other. And you'll see as I get toward the top, you see what happens? It goes semi-opaque, and you'll see an outline around the other window. And when I let go, it puts them into one tabbed window. See the tabs up here? All right. From a usability standpoint, I think that's big, because it just makes it easier to start working with multiple images. All right, because it kind of works, again, the way you think it should work. They're right in front of you. You can just click on one to open it. You can even drag things between the two. Like if I have my move tool selected, I have this text. I can click on the text and drag it up over the other one, hold for a second, and then drop it over into this document. Okay, so that's another one of those things that just, it stuck with me. It just made sense. Now the next one, I'm sad to say that it's for Mac only, but it's for Mac only because PC users have had this. This is the way Photoshop has always worked, but we have this thing called an application frame. If you go into the window menu, you go down to application frame. It's off by default because they don't want to force it on you, but I really think they should force it on you because it's a good thing. You turn on application frame, watch what happens. See how, if I click on the bottom corner here, see how Photoshop actually moves around as a whole application? There's a frame around the entire application. All right, when I turn it off, what do we have? We have these floating palettes, and you know what always happened to me? Because I came from using a PC, and this is one of the things that really irked me because the user interface on a Mac is really so good, except for, well, I'd be in Photoshop and I'd be brushing or doing something, and accidentally I'd click, oh, Photoshop's gone, and now I'm in my web browser. or onto my desktop or my email program or wherever, whatever window was behind there. And it annoyed the living daylights out of me because it's so easy in Photoshop to accidentally click not on the image, especially when you're going back and forth between palettes and the image and all that. I didn't like it. And also, it never made it easy to maybe have multiple windows open on the same screen and see them both. So when we're in this application frame, everything moves as one frame. I can move Photoshop over here. Okay? Everything moves in one little package. All my palettes, the image, all of it. And now I could have, let's say, a web browser open over here. And if I wanted to see something in this web browser and still work in Photoshop, I could do that. All right. And the application frame lets you have that ability. Dragging your palettes over, it was just a big pain in the butt. And to kind of give you an idea, look at your web browsers. Look, application frame. Okay. Even Safari, Mac's very own program, application frame. Let's go take a look at your email program. Look, application frame. Okay. iTunes, iPhoto, you name the program, it's got an application frame. So here's my suggestion. If I were you, because a lot of people will adopt this immediately and say, hey, I love it, okay? But there's going to be a lot of people that fight it. Give it like 5 days, all right? Switch over to it for like 5 days, and I'm pretty confident you're going to wind up liking it because it really is, it is the way software should be. This floating stuff is not really the way software should be, okay? So give it a few days and just kind of force yourself to use it. And I think in the end, you'll wind up liking it better. Okay? And then the last thing here that I'm going to talk about in this interface video is under the window menu as well. It's called the application bar. All right? And when you have the application frame on, it's automatically going to be turned on. But when you don't, you can turn this on and off. But let me turn it off. Let me show you where it is. Look up top right under the menu. See what went away there? All right? And now it's back. This is the application bar. It sticks with you through the program, and it's got quick shortcuts to things that we do a lot inside of Photoshop. All right, like jumping over to Bridge, launch Bridge. There's an icon right there. View extras, show grids, show rulers, things that you have to go up to the view menu for. The zoom percentages. No longer do you have to come down here and type in, sorry about that. No longer do you have to come down there and type in a certain percentage. Okay, you can do it right here. You can get to the hand tool, the magnifying glass, the zoom tool, canvas rotation, which I've got a video on in the power session. Arrange documents. You can change the way your documents are arranged. You can consolidate, put them all into that tabbed view. You can move them into more of a tiled view. And you can see there's a lot of different options you have when you have a bunch of different images open, as well as, actual pixels and fitting something on the screen and whatnot. And then your full screen view modes. All right, this is something that was always kind of a mystery, but it's not. It's right up here now. Here's standard screen mode. If I go into full screen mode with the menu bar, it makes Photoshop take up the full screen, and then the next one takes Photoshop without the menu bar and goes into like total full screen. And you can always hit the F key if you want a quick keyboard shortcut for that. I'm going to go back over here to my tabbed view because I like it. In fact, I'm going to go back over and turn on my application frame because that's the way I'm going to leave it from now on because that's the way I like it. All right, but this application bar, it's a neat thing, and you're going to notice things like this. You're going to notice little icons pop up in the options bar and the applications bar, like when I go to my clone stamp tool. All right, take a look over here. Here's a shortcut to the clone source panel. It came out in CS3, but nobody found it because it was hidden in a menu. But you're going to find little things like this all throughout the interface that are now have better things that are kind of in front of you and really, in the end, help you discover a lot more about the program and help you start to work faster because a lot of it, again, is right in front of you, very, very easy to get to. Okay, so a couple things that personally for me made me stick with the interface. And when we get into Bridge, you're going to see there's a lot of the same things. There's things that, as soon as I installed this, I kind of became addicted to the interface. And it was hard for me to go back over to CS3 because all these things that I got used to using weren't there anymore.